A young girl lies dead in a Spanish forest near Baztan. A shadow lurks among the trees, watching. Inspector Amaya arrives with the police looking for clues. The girl Ainhoa missed her bus last night and left her shoes by the road. Someone strangled her with a rope, washed off her makeup, shaved her groin, and put a sweet on it. She also had animal hair on her. Her hands were in a weird position. No signs of abuse, though. How considerate of the killer. Amaya thinks she's seen this before. She goes to question Carla's boyfriend, who's in prison for killing her a month and a half ago. He says Carla was into rough stuff and he didn't want to leave her on the road, but she insisted. He cries and says he's innocent. Amaya believes him. The tests confirm it. Same rope, same killer. A serial killer? Amy used to work for the FBI, so she gets to lead the case. Lucky her, she has to stay in Baztan, her hometown. She hates it there. She meets the local cops and compares Carla and Ainhoa. Same sweet, same hair. She stays with her aunt Engrassi and her sister Rosora. She remembers how her mother Rosario treated her like crap. The next day, Amaya and Jonan go to Ainhoa's funeral. They see a shady guy and chase him. It's Freddie, Rosora's husband. He says he ran because he's scared of Amaya, since he and Rosora had a fight. Sure, buddy. Victor shows up, Flora's ex-husband. He still talks to her sometimes. Amaya visits Flora, who runs the family bakery and hates Amaya. Amaya shows her the sweet. Flora says it's made with fresh ingredients in a wood oven. Only a few shops do that. She'll make a list. Amaya goes back to town and hears a mother scream. Her daughter Anne is missing. Amaya calls the station and organizes a search. The cops joke about the animal hair, saying it's Basajan, a mythical creature. How funny. Someone finds shoes, but no girl. Amaya tells them to keep looking. She goes home and finds James, her boyfriend. He came to support her. He says people blame Basajan for everything. He's American. He doesn't get it. Amaya wishes she didn't either. Rosora says Basajan is a furry giant who guards the forest, like Bigfoot. But he's not a murderer. He's a protector. She's pissed that people accuse him. James asks Amaya why she lived with her aunt as a kid, not with her family. Amaya dodges the question, but flashes back to Rosario cutting her hair with scissors and making her bleed. She can't sleep, so she watches the rain and sees Anne on the bridge. She chases her, but she's gone. She calls the cops, but they find nothing. The next day, Amaya and Jonan have breakfast and plan their next steps. They see Flora with Montez, who's been AWOL for days. A biker finds shoes by the road. The cops find Anne's body, same as the others, with a sweet on her groin. The doc says she's been dead for a day, so it wasn't her at the window. Montez shoots at something in the woods, but hits a pregnant otter. He says he saw a humanoid. Amaya kills the otter to end its pain. Sam, Amnaya, and Jonan visit Anne's parents. Amaya finds the red coat she saw at the window, with walnuts in the pocket. She checks Anne's computer and sees hot photos, even though the parents said she had no boyfriend. Amaya does the autopsy and sees the same hand position and makeup removal. She thinks the killer cleans the girls and compares the hands to the Virgin Mary. She says the river could be a sign of washing away sins. Amaya and Jonan go to Anne's school and talk to her friends. A girl says Anne was a liar. She had a fling with a married man. Amaya goes home and drops a walnut. Ingrassi says walnuts are a mark of witchcraft. Amaya finds a key pendant in her room and remembers something else. Rosario gave Amaya a terrible haircut and ugly clothes. Amaya felt miserable. Her dad gave her some money and a key to hide it in the bakery. Rosario came to Amaya's room to mock her and left a walnut on the table. Amaya wakes up and realizes she went to the bakery in her sleep. She runs home and tosses the key. Amaya and Jonan talk to an old commissioner who tells them about Teresa, a foreign girl who was killed with candy on her legs. She was strangled and dumped by the river. Her hair was flawless, even though she was dragged through the woods. They found more girls like that in different places. He shows them a map, but says they never found any clues or suspects. Amaya goes to the bakery and sees Flora fighting with Victor. She goes in and Flora gives her the list. Amaya asks for some flour. She leaves and sees Victor, but gets a shocking call. She goes to Freddie's house, but he doesn't answer. She looks through the window and sees he tried to self-delete. She breaks the door and cuts the rope to save him. She finds a note in his hand that says, "I love you, Anne. I will love you forever." At the hospital, the doctor says it was a self-deletion attempt and the wound on Freddie's hand was self-inflicted. Amaya shows Rosora the note and Rosora says she knew Freddie was cheating, but not with who. She says Freddie is a loser, but not a killer. Freddie can't talk, so Amaya talks to his friend, who ignores her until he hears Freddie is a suspect. The friend says he was with Freddie the night of the murder. They went to a bar and Freddie kept calling a woman who ignored him. He got so mad that he punched a mirror and hurt his hand. They went to the hospital for stitches. The next day, Amaya goes to Anne's funeral and sees Flora there. A cop takes Amaya away because they found another dead girl in an old house in the woods. Her name was Johanna. She was 15 and she ran away a lot. The mother didn't report her missing. The doc says she's been dead for a week. She's missing an arm, her face is bruised, and her neck is injured. She was strangled by hand. There's no candy on her groin and she was abused. They think someone copied the killer to cover their tracks. Amaya sees a shadow in the woods and runs after it, but finds nothing. Johanna's mother comes to the station and says her husband Jason killed her daughter. Johanna was from her first marriage. Jason was a good stepdad at first, but then he got obsessed with Johanna and put a tracker in her phone. The day Johanna vanished, Jason said he removed the tracker. Yeah, right. The cops go after Jason while Amaya talks to Jonan, who has some findings. He found 7 more cases like theirs, but no arrests. Nobody thought they were related, because they had some differences. But Amaya and Jonan think it's the same guy, who's been experimenting with a ritual until he got it right. The first case was Teresa, the candy girl from 14 years ago. The killer was more violent then, and Jonan thinks he wanted to punish the girls for their sins. But then he stopped for 7 years. He came back with a girl who fell off a cliff last year. Her hair was neat and her hands were like the Virgin Mary's. Amaya and Jonan think the killer is showing off his kills, because he wants everyone to get his message. The girls from 10 years ago were from different towns, so Amaya asks Jonan to check the newspapers to see what connected them. Maybe the killer had a reason to pick those places. At night, Amaya lets Ingrassi do a tarot reading for her. The cards say the killer is close and he's after Amaya and her family. Amaya asks who he is, and the devil card comes out. Ingrassi freaks out. By the road, a girl misses her bus, but a van picks her up. He passes a cop car, but nobody notices. The next day, they find Jason unconscious on a trail. Amaya questions him and he confesses he beat and abused Johanna before killing her. He tried to copy the killer to cover his track, but he says he didn't cut her arm and someone moved him to the trail. He remembers someone carrying him. Amaya leaves and a ranger tells her he heard a whistle in the woods and saw a humanoid shadow with a bag going into a cave. He tried to follow, but the shadow was gone. Amaya goes home and sees they're having a family dinner. Flora starts a fight saying the girls deserve to die for their sins. Amaya argues with her, but Ingrassi stops them. Flora keeps whining, saying Amaya abandoned them when their mother was sick. Amaya regrets sending Rosario to a clinic and James is shocked because Amaya said her mother was dead. Amaya thinks Rosario is dead to her. Flora insults Amaya and leaves with Victor. Amaya gets a call from the station and goes there. None of the flower samples match the sweets. There's one left from Rosora. Amaya and Jonan see Montes enter the station on his day off. They watch the cameras and see him take some reports. They follow him to a cafe where he meets Flora and gives her the report. They bust them for stealing evidence. Flora won't talk, so Jonan arrests her. At the station, Amaya checks the latest report and sees that Flora gave them the wrong flower. Rosora's flower matches the sweets. Flora admits she changed the flower to protect her business. Her employees take flour home. They argue, but Amaya's boss calls her to his office. He knows Freddie was with Anne and Amaya hid Flora's flower trick. He says it's a conflict of interest and gives the case to Montes. Amaya says Montes and Flora are in cahoots, but the boss believes Montes. Amaya leaves and sees everyone running to find a missing girl. Amaya gets a call from her FBI mentor, who tells her to face her past to clear her vision. Amaya goes to the bakery and remembers when she hid money with her dad's key. Rosario came and found her. She accused her of stealing and hit her with scissors. Amaya ran, but Rosario chased her and hit her with a rolling pin. Rosario went home and her husband saw the key. He went to the bakery and found Amaya in the flour. He saved her and took her to the hospital. The doctor said the flour stopped the bleeding. Rosario kept hitting Amaya after she passed out. Amaya's dad sent her to Ingrassi. Amaya goes to the clinic and sees Rosario tied to the bed. She asks her about the murders, but Rosario curses her and attacks her. Amaya leaves. A doctor says they tied Rosario because she bit a nurse and ate her flesh. He says her brother-in-law visits her often and brings her flowers. Jonan researches the newspapers and sees Flora in a picture. He sees Victor in motorcycle events. He's the brother-in-law, not Freddie. A calls him and agrees. She tells him to tell the others while she goes after Victor. Montes is in the cave with no signal, so he misses the call. Amaya drives fast in the rain, but the road is blocked. She brakes, but the car slides and flips over. Jonan goes to Victor's house, but it is empty. He calls Amaya, but she is knocked out in the car. Montes and his men find many human bones in the cave, some from kids and one from a woman's arm. Victor is combing his new victim's hair for the ritual. Amaya hears a whistle and wakes up. She is out of the car and sees the Basajan in the fog. He leads her to a strange house. Amaya enters with her gun and hears a song her parents liked. She sees the oven on with a sweet in it. She hears a girl scream and looks around. She finds newspapers and photos of the murders. Victor hits her arm with a rolling pin. He says he killed the girls to teach them purity like Flora and Rosario. Amaya stabs his leg with scissors and runs away. He follows her and hits her again. They fight and he tries to choke her. Amaya pushes the scissors deeper and escapes. She finds the girl and frees her. Victor comes near, but Flora shoots him twice. Later, Amaya tells the case. Victor killed his first girl 14 years ago because he hated Teresa's foreign ways. He felt guilty and drank a lot. He thought he was doing good. He killed 8 more girls in 6 years. But then he married Flora. She calmed him down and he stopped killing for 7 years. They divorced and he started again. He used details to send a message and win Flora back. Montes says some bones in the cave were Victor's, but others were not. The arm was Johanna's, but not cut by her stepfather or Victor. Weeks later, Flora writes a book about her family and praises her mother. Amaya and James tell Rosora and Ingrassi they will have a baby.